Hello everyone, welcome to Indian Economy by Amal Soni. In today's news hour, we'll be discussing the important articles related to economy from the Hindu newspaper. In page 1, there is no news related to economy. Let's go to the editorial page. And in this editorial related to the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, we can skip it because in the previous news hour yesterday we read about the provisions of Money Laundering Act and we also went through the negatives of the act and what would be the way forward in the previous news hour. So you can skip the editorial. This article here is important for agriculture from the mains perspective. Let's go into the details. In India, there is a food paradox. The problem is, on one hand, we are sustainable in the food production when it comes to cereals, fruits and vegetables, milk, etc. On the other hand, there is also high hunger and poverty. We rank very low in the hunger index. So this is a contrasting scenario. And what are the reasons for that? Even though the production is high and even though the government is distributing food grains through the PDS system, people are consuming it, the level of nutrition content is low. Even when the calorie intake is high, the level of nutrition in the food grains are low. That is why, in spite of having high production, there is hunger index and we fare very low when it comes to underweight, and the malnutrition levels in India are high. This article is related to the very same topic and how to improve that. Let's go into the details. The UN Food System Summit called for action by the government in 5 areas. That is, nourish all the people. We need to go for nature-based solution because of the unsustainable agriculture that we are having. We need to go for nature-based solutions and equitable livelihood, decent work for the communities, and resilience to future vulnerabilities that arise from the climate change. And this could be done only by the interface of science, society, and policy. That is, the science and technology, the society, and the government policy have to come together to achieve this. And India's Green Revolution is a perfect example of how science, society, and policy came together. When we were facing shortages in the food grains, the high yielding varieties, which are a result of science and technology, and which got promoted by the government through its policy, which got accepted by the society, took India to a great heights in food production in the later years. So Green Revolution is a perfect example of how science, society, and policy, when it comes together, can achieve great results in agricultural sector. And the vast agricultural research and technology transfer at the national level, state level, local level, and the behavioral changes that got accepted into the people through the works of the government, all this resulted in the success of the Green Revolution. Now we have come to a level where India is self-sufficient in food grain production, but that is at a macro level. As we have discussed, on one hand we are self-sufficient in food production, on the other hand, in the recent 2021 hunger index, India ranked 101 out of the 116 countries. So you can see the stark difference between both the variables. Even though the nutrition indicators of India have marginally improved over the years, we have high malnutrition. Our children are suffering from underweight, and around 18% of women and 16% of men are unable to access the food to meet the basic nutritional needs. And the Indian agriculture sector also suffers from other problems like the productivity issue. The yield per hectare in India is very low compared to other foreign countries in various food grains. We are using more land to produce less food, and in the foreign countries, in the limited land, they are producing high yields. So Indian agriculture suffers from the issue of productivity. The article says that we should not just focus our agriculture on just achieving the nutritional security. We should have a holistic look. Now we are having a siloed approach where we look the agriculture sector in silos, that is individually, and we mainly focus our agriculture only for the food security needs. But what we have to do is we need to move from the food security need to the focusing on the food systems which are sustainable and which can also provide better nutrition in the future. And what are these food systems that are sustainable? We have to transform the way we produce, the way we aggregate, the way we process and distribute and consume our food grains. And for that, various measures have to be taken. And what are those measures? We need to have an agroclimatic approach to agriculture and development. In the technologies of our agriculture, in the way we conduct our agriculture, we need to have climate sensitive techniques so that on the one hand the agriculture is sustainable, on the other hand we are also protecting the climate. Such type of agriculture would be sustainable in the long run. And we need to harness the spatial diversity of agriculture production, and we need to go for resource efficiency by land pooling, by forming groups of farmer producer organizations. By this we could overcome the negatives of the green revolution. What are the negatives of the green revolution? Because we went for certain high yielding varieties, it led to certain problems in the future. What are those? It led to loss of indigenous land traces. Because of the soil nutrients got depleted because of the nature of the green revolution crops. The groundwater in Punjab and those areas where the green revolution was happening, the groundwater levels reduced, and because of the excessive use of agrochemicals, the chemicals got into the food crops and there is residual presence in the foods now, and it increased the income gap between the small and large farmers, because those large farmers who had huge tracts of land, they could go for these high yielding varieties, and small farmers couldn't use this because in order to invest in technologies like tractors you need to have high incomes which the small farmers couldn't afford. And this also led to a gap between the irrigated lands and the rain fed lands, because in areas where there was rain fed areas in India, the green revolution couldn't take place, and in irrigated areas where there was supply through water and canal networks, the green revolution took place. And a research by the Indian Council of Agriculture Research says that India has enormous potential for crop diversification because of the geography of India, because of the different geoclimatic situations of our country. Different types of crops could be grown at different places. So we have enormous potential for crop diversification based on the soil type, the climate, temperature, rainfall. So we can have those crops which can be specific to the particular climate of the country. And the agriculture sector also has direct influence on the health and nutrition of the dependent communities, because if you can't consume proper nutritional food, your health and nutrition would be directly affected. And we need to make use of these agroclimatic zones so that even the small farmers can get a profitable business. And how is all this achieved? Here we discussed initially about how the science, society, and technology can come together. And it is for the policymakers to get through this policy to the people. The policymakers have to make sure that they organize the food supply chains properly by strengthening them and reinforcing the regional food systems, investing heavily in food processing, in agricultural sustainability, and we should also invest heavily in research and investments. And the agricultural infrastructure needs to be improved so that even the small and medium enterprises would be able to contribute in the agricultural production. And the national and state level policies have to be aligned together. For example, the national policy guidelines of released by the Ministry of Agriculture, they support the promotion of farmer producer organizations, and the policy of the Ministry of Environment supports circular economy of production, processing and food forage techniques, renewable energy solutions, reduction in the supply chain and inputs. If we increase the efficiency of the productivity, the need for the inputs would automatically reduce because there is efficiency in the crop production. By doing all this, when we get science, society, and policy together, we can have a multifaceted and multidisciplinary and holistic approach towards agriculture, which will change the entire Indian agricultural system. We can skip this article and we just need to know unicorns are those startups which are valued at over $1 billion. Coming to the news in business page, in the previous news source, we have been discussing about how the Russia and Ukraine conflict can lead to increase in the oil prices, which could have impact on the domestic inflation. Because if the crude oil prices increase, the input cost of the Indian goods would increase and the cost of imports also would be high. Because of this, the domestic inflation, the prices of goods and services within India would increase. This will also have impact or direct impact on the current account deficit. Because the imports are costlier now, we are paying more for the oil prices. It will increase the current account deficit. It will also have an indirect impact on the subsidy bill, because when it comes to the LPG subsidy given by the government, if the crude oil prices and the LPG prices increases, the government has to compensate for the difference to the oil producing companies, so that the subsidy bill of the government would increase. This will again increase the deficit of the government. So an increase in oil prices in the global economy will have the repercussions on the domestic economy. That's about this article. We just need to know the concept and we don't need to go into the details of it. And in this article, it talks about how the current crisis could benefit India in terms of the trade in wheat. Because the government stock with the Food Corporation of India, we have twice the buffer stock when it comes to the food grains like wheat. And countries like Ukraine and Russia together, they export 25% of the world's wheat. Now because those countries are in conflict, it is opportunity for us to export this additional wheat stocks that we have and make a quick buck. We can export to countries like Egypt, Turkey and Bangladesh, which import the Russian wheat. And here Russia is the world's largest exporter of wheat and Egypt is the world's largest importer of wheat. Here no need to read this news, we can just read the headlines here, how the tea exporters would get affected because of the uncertainty in Russia. Again, this news could be skipped Same with this Crane Energy News. Here there is an article about the chief economic advisor. The economic advisor says that the economy is slowly recovering after the pandemic, but because of the high crude price, there is a worry that it would impact the domestic inflation. And the condition that we are currently in, wherein there is uncertainty about growth on the one hand and there is rising inflation on the other hand, the advisor says that this situation is faced by every country. This is not unique to India. And the inflation and purchasing power is a global problem now, because the rise in crude would lead to rising the shipping cost, rising the container cost, and the oil prices. All this would have an repercussions on the Indian inflation. Those are the articles related to economy today. Thank you so much.